Welcome back, everybody, to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. You can also follow us on YouTube. We've got some great video content. Our YouTube handle is at LA Rams Up. You can follow us on Instagram as well. I'm your host, Mark. Let's get to it. Welcome back, Ram fans, and let me just say right off the top, boy, I did not see that coming. The Rams beat the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos with one of the better defenses in the league, 51-14 at SoFi on Sunday afternoon, Christmas Day. So, hey, a hearty Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you, especially you Ram fans, of course. Got something to celebrate. The Rams pound the Broncos and improved to 5-10. I was a guest on a Bronco podcast a few days ago, and they asked me how I saw this game unfolding. I said, hey, guarantee one thing, it's going to be low scoring. Take the under. I'm picking the Rams 16-13. The only way this game gets to over 30 points total is if there's a couple of pick six, something like that, crazy stuff going on. But I did not account for a couple of things. One thing I did not account for, our Los Angeles Rams, and credit to this coaching staff and the players, they came to play, and boy, did they come to play on offense and defense, and they hammered the Broncos from start to finish. And the second thing that maybe I overlooked is, Baker Mayfield comes to town, and at the end of that Raider game, looked so good, drove the team 98 yards for a touchdown, and I thought, hey, give him another week, 11 days in this offense, actually go to Green Bay, and we're going to see a pretty efficient Ram offense. That might have been a little bit too optimistic, and also given the fact that they're playing in 15 degrees in a hostile environment. So I took a step back on my expectations. I thought this was going to be a rough outing for the Rams offense. We've just gotten so used to it. But man, I think Baker just needed another week. And on top of that, the offensive line more or less intact again. No Brian Allen, but other than that, the five guys up front have played together before, and they put a smacking down on the Denver Broncos, the offensive line and the defensive line, something a little bit overlooked with all the splash plays we had on offense and defense. We won in the trenches on both sides of the ball. And that raises the question, what if the Rams had a real backup quarterback to begin with? I have to tell you, the one thing I said before this season started, that's one thing I thought they had neglected. Hey, everybody loves John Wolford and Bryce Perkins. Do we really think these guys would be the answer if Matthew Stafford went down? And we found out what the answer was. The answer was no. But Baker Mayfield, hey, he has his flaws. I get it. Everybody's recognized that for a couple years. But he is a talented guy, and he is a real NFL quarterback. And you put him in the right system, like he was today, he can be pretty darn good. That was a fun game to watch him operate and go to his second and third reads and get more or less good protection and roll out and make plays on the run. Baker Mayfield, man, that was, I'm just hoping we find a way to keep him as a backup. I'm not sure if that's realistic, but that would make me feel much better about next year, that's for sure. So shout out to the entire Rams organization, this coaching staff and the players. They took this game seriously. They played hard. It's their job, and they recognized that, and they went out and actually kind of embarrassed the Denver Broncos. My first and four keys to the game were really built on the expectation that the Rams were not going to be very successful on offense. I said, number one, don't get behind the chains. Well, we didn't. We were moving the ball on first down, and that was a lot to do with our offensive line and Cam Akers. We'll talk about those guys later. We'll talk about a lot of guys later that get game balls. There's a bunch of them to hand out. And fearsome key number two really didn't become an issue. I thought that we would not be able to do well on first down, that we would get behind the chains, and then we'd have to protect Baker on third and long. And we protected Baker pretty well all day long. Again, offensive line stepped up today, but it wasn't a matter of protecting him on third and long. Really didn't have to do that so much, just did a pretty good job protecting him all day, though. And fearsome key number three, something I was worried about was the run D. And the run defense was actually very good, but we got ahead and it became more or less a non-issue. I did not foresee this game getting out of hand like this. Nobody saw that coming. And fearsome key number 4, continue the pressure we saw against the Packers. We got some pressure on Aaron Rodgers at times, and hey, we brought it again. Guys like Laurel Murchison and Michael Hoyt. Now, Michael Hoyt, we've seen that for a few weeks, but Murchison, and I did the same thing the announcers did before he even made a play. I was like, 52, who the heck is that? And I dug up the Rams roster, and on the Rams website, he's not even listed, at least at number 52. Couldn't find him, and then he got the sack, and they called out his name. So fearsome key number 4, continue pressuring the quarterback, and we nailed that. 6 sacks on the day. My prediction, not so great. Rams 16, Broncos 13. Pretty close on the Broncos score. Not so much on the Rams score, but hey, nobody, absolutely nobody was predicting this, predicting the Rams to even break the 30-point barrier, let alone 51 points. Go through some key stats. Mayfield, 4 incompletions on the day, 24 for 28 for 230 yards and 2 TDs. Akers, 23 for 118, 5.1 average and 3 TDs. I doubt anybody in fantasy football playoffs was starting Akers. If they did, they hit the jackpot, and they hit the jackpot with Tyler Higbee too. 9 catches for 94 yards and 2 TDs. And Bryson Hopkins, guy I talked about last week, where has Bryson Hopkins gone? 3 catches for 57 yards and a key block. He is a load. I don't know why they don't get him involved more. Maybe they've tried. Maybe it's just needing a real quarterback. Bryson Hopkins, I think he has a future with this team. Durant, Ramsey, and Wagner all had interceptions. Durant, of course, had 2. Sacks on the day, Murchison had 2. Michael Hoyt had 1.5. Wagner and Floyd 1 apiece, and Jonah Williams had the other half sack. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Tony Romo today, because Tony Romo echoed exactly what I have been saying all along. These people that think the Rams mortgaged their future, they're going to be on a downslide for a few seasons. Tony gets it. That's a bunch of bull. They've been going all in and mortgaging their future ever since Sean McVay and Les Snead teamed up, and they've still gotten to 2 Super Bowls over the last 4 years. This is a blip on the radar. This is due to injuries and the perfect storm of stuff happening, a tough schedule, key guys being out, an offensive line that's gone through I don't know how many players now. This team is going to come back next year and compete for a playoff spot. And I think today was a very big day, a very big step in that direction. The Los Angeles Rams are going to be just fine. They just need to get healthy, address a couple of holes on their roster next year, try to retain some guys, restructure a couple of contracts. What I saw today is very promising, unexpected, but man, it makes me feel so much better about where this team is headed. As I shared in my YouTube short a couple of days ago, there are some good reasons to embrace our Ram loss today. It would improve their draft position. It would hurt the Seattle Seahawks position as far as where that Bronco pick that they own lands. It just improved a little bit, unfortunately. And it would be nice to get that 4th place schedule next year. But hey, screw that. I feel great about this win. I feel great about this performance. It's been a long time coming. 51-14 Rams over the Broncos. Can't believe I'm even saying that. We're going to come back in a minute with our game capture. Try to get through the whole game, possession by possession. And after that, a bunch of notes on this game, lots of good stuff, and then we'll get to our loop around the league at the end. So let's run down this whole game from start to finish. The Rams opened with a nice drive. Cam Akers doing most of the work, 5 rushes for 37 yards. But a false start and a mishandled snap sets up a 3rd and 28, but the Rams managed to get in position for a 55-yard field goal, and Matt Gay connects 3-0 Rams. The Broncos' first possession, Kobe Durant tips the ball into the air and catches it himself, returns it to the Bronco 34-yard line, and the tight ends go to work. Mayfield to Hopkins inside the 10, and then Higbee takes a short pass and bowls his way into the end zone. 10-0 Rams. Broncos' second possession after a holding call backs them up. On second down, Bobby Wagner steps in front of a Russell Wilson pass, sets up the Rams at the Broncos 11. Mayfield to Higbee to the 2, and then Akers runs it in. And our Los Angeles Rams, believe it or not, are leading 17-0. Broncos finally get on the board on their next drive. They overcome a 2nd and 19 after a sack by Laurel Murchison. A 23-yard pass to Judy keeps them in business, but they cannot overcome a holding call, and Brandon McMahon connects from 54 yards. So it's 17-3, the Rams. Into the second quarter now, and the Rams answer immediately. Akers takes a swing pass on first down, and then they go back to him on the next play, all the way down to the Bronco 38-yard line. 2 runs by Kyren Williams for another first down. Higbee, another first down to the 9-yard line, and then on 3rd and goal from the 7, they go back to Higbee for the touchdown, and it's 24-3 Rams. Broncos pick up a couple of first downs on the ground, but Laurel Murchison gets his second sack of the day, and the Broncos have to punt. The Rams, backed up all the way at their own 10-yard line, they go on a 90-yard drive. They convert a 3rd and 5 to Bryson Hopkins. Powell picks up a first down. Akers picks up a 3rd and short. Tyler Higbee, a screen pass, 21 yards, really using his blockers while also dragging a couple of tacklers again, like he had already a couple of times. Down to the 23, Higbee a pass down to the 2, and then Akers runs it in for a second touchdown untouched. Great block by Bryson Hopkins on that play, and the Rams lead 31-3. Unfortunately, the Broncos are able to get a field goal as time runs out. Taylor Rapp and Darion Kendrick had a chance to wrap up the receiver before he got out of bounds, but they failed. Rapp missed the tackle. Darion Kendrick looked like he quit on the play. The receiver steps out of bounds with 1 second left, and the Broncos add a field goal just before halftime. Go to the break. Rams up 31-6. Some halftime stats for you. Mayfield 18 for 20 for 185 yards and 2 TDs. Cam Akers 13 rushes, 61 yards and 2 TDs, a 4.7 yard average. And Tyler Higbee 8 catches for 84 yards and 2 TDs. And keep in mind, this is a very good defense the Rams are going up against. Broncos get the ball first in the second half, put together a nice drive, but on 2nd and 4 from the Rams 38, Wilson takes a shot at the end zone, and Jalen Ramsey wrestles it away from Greg Dulcich, the ex-UCLA tight end, for the interception. Rams get the ball at the 20. This was the drive that started out with that challenge. Taylor Rapp putting the big hit on Dulcich. Looked like a fumble at first, but was called down on contact, and the Broncos kept the ball only to turn it over in the Rams end zone. Rams get the ball at the 20. Cam Akers starts this drive out with runs of 4, 10, and 21 yards. Van Jefferson with a catch to the Broncos 34. Akers breaks the 100-yard mark on this drive. Malcolm Brown converts a 4th and 1 at the 25. Tyler Higbee with another reception, this one for a first down, but the drive stalls there, and the Rams settle for a 27-yard Matt Gay field goal. The lead is 34-6. The Broncos' next possession, Murchison and Hoyt combine on a sack, and then Michael Hoyt gets another one on 3rd and 16, so it's a 3 and out for the Broncos. We're into the fourth quarter now. Malcolm Brown busts an 18-yard run on 3rd and 10. On 3rd and 3 from the Broncos 9, it looks like the Broncos hold. Mayfield throwing it out of the back of the end zone, but he takes a cheap shot. Personal foul is called on Randy Gregory, gives the Rams a first down at the 4, and Akers stiffs arm his way into the end zone for a TD, and the Rams lead 41-6. The Broncos finally find the end zone on their next drive. A big pass to Judy for 36 yards to the Rams 11, and then Wilson to Dulcich for the TD. Broncos go for 2, penalty on 2 straight plays, and they finally run it in. So it's an 8-point play. Rams lead 41-14. Broncos try an onside kick. Tyler Higbee recovers at the Bronco 41. Bryce Perkins in at quarterback now. Rams can't pick up a first down, but they do get the 53-yard field goal by Matt Gay, and it's back up to 44-14. Brett Rippon in for the Broncos at quarterback, and on 4th and 10 from the Rams 23, makes a really bad decision, and Kobe Durant takes advantage, grabs the ball at the 15 and races 85 yards untouched for a touchdown, and the Rams have put 51 up on this Broncos defense. 51-14, the final score. Broncos had one more possession, gave it up on downs, and the Rams victory formation for one play to close out this win and improve to 5-10. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is my go-to when betting on the NFL this holiday season. Right now, everyone can earn up to a 100% boost with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. And how about this? If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TPPN, place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game, you get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code TPPN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. I'll share some additional notes and thoughts on this Rams 51-14 win over the Denver Broncos. This is where I typically share my fearsome 4 big plays of the game, and the first was the interception by Kobe Durant. The Rams led 3-0 at that point. Durant's interception gave the Rams the ball at the Broncos 34. The second big play came soon thereafter, Baker Mayfield hitting Bryson Hopkins for 22 yards to the Denver 9. That was followed quickly by Tyler Higbee's touchdown. And big play number 3, the interception by Bobby Wagner. And that, of course, was followed by another touchdown to put the Rams up 17-0. First and big play number 4. The Rams are up 31-6. Broncos' first possession of the third quarter. On 2nd and 4 from the Rams 38, Jalen Ramsey intercepts a pass in the end zone, wrestling it away from Craig Dulcich. And that was basically the Broncos' last gasp. That ended any chance of a comeback in my mind. Game over. Now, there were lots of other big plays. Tyler Higbee had a few. The defensive line obviously had a few. But those would be my big 4. And Cam Akers had some big plays too. And Malcolm Brown had that 4th and 1 conversion. That was significant as well. Worth noting, Randy Gregory, the great outside linebacker for the Broncos, had 2 personal fouls in the game. And then, after the game, threw a punch at Oday Abushi, the Rams guard. Abushi, he took a pretty good swing at Gregory himself, and then it got broken up. See if there's any fines coming down from that. There probably will be. Laurel Murchison had that injury, neck injury, late in the game. Hopefully that's not serious because he was really helping this defensive line with Donald and Ashawn Robinson both out. And it was kind of cool to see the Rams running those 2 tight end sets. I'd like to go back and see the stats on that, how often they did that. Higbee and Hopkins out there together. And before we move on to our player props, let's talk a little bit about the Broncos. Let's talk about Russell Wilson especially. One thing I'm going to say I got right before the season started was that trade was a mistake for the Denver Broncos. And boy, it has turned out really bad. Russell Wilson right now looks like a shell of his former self. Tony Romo is usually pretty positive in his critiques of players. Came down pretty hard on Russell Wilson, criticized him several times. And, I kind of saw it at the tail end of his Seahawk career. Of course, Ram fans got to see him twice a year. To me, it was kind of obvious Russell Wilson's talent and skill level was on the decline, and the Broncos make this big trade for him. I think it's turned into a disaster, and I almost feel like they'd be better off walking away from him next season. I don't know if they can do that. I don't know how they do it, but man, the Broncos are in trouble with Russell Wilson at quarterback, and maybe they're in trouble with Nathaniel Hackett as their head coach. This game reminded me and my special assistant of that Rams-Falcons game, which was, by the way, on December 11th, 2016 at the Coliseum. The Rams just came out and looked horrible. Their season was over, and they looked like they were ready. They looked like they were ready to head for Cabo. Falcons embarrassed them, and the next day, Jeff Fisher, amazed that the Rams would be firing him. And that was the end of the Jeff Fisher regime with the Rams. And I almost feel like, would the Broncos move away from Nathaniel Hackett now? Wouldn't be surprised, but they'll probably wait till the end of the year. Player props. Now, this is good. This is good stuff. Hey, but you know what? Let me get the bad stuff out of the way. And there's not too much, really. There's just one play that stood out to me, the end of the first half. The Broncos trying to get out of bounds so they can kick a field goal. Taylor Rapp missed the tackle. Darion Kendrick looked confused and became a spectator, and that allowed the Broncos to get out of bounds and kick the field goal. So that was not a good look, but I'm going to defend Taylor Rapp here for a minute. And I know there are a lot of Ram fans that are unhappy with him, and I've defended him on many occasions. And he brought the wood today. He had big hits all game long. And this is the thing about Taylor Rapp. I think he does struggle in space. And we see that. It becomes pretty obvious when your safety has trouble making tackles in space, takes bad angles sometimes. But Taylor Rapp plays with passion, and he's a big hitter. Could we possibly improve at that spot? And by the way, Taylor Rapp is a free agent, as is Nick Scott, so he may have no choice. But be careful what you ask for. I think if we brought both our safeties back, I'd be okay with that. Player props. This has not been a fun segment over the last few months, but today, lots of good stuff. Lots of players stepped up today. On offense, we'll start with Tyler Higbee. This is the Tyler Higbee I remember, holding onto the ball, making a few moves, using his blockers, and blowing up would-be tacklers. Liked what I saw from Tyler Higbee. Baker Mayfield, what can you say? Ran the offense efficiently, looked like he knew exactly what he was doing, going to a second and third reads, accurate passing, lots of moxie as he always has. And how about Bryson Hopkins? 3 catches for 57 yards, was it? And he had a big block on the run by Akers. I like what I see in Bryson Hopkins. Just need him to get more opportunities. On defense, Bobby Wagner. That guy, he is so smart, so intelligent, sound in every aspect of his game. He was all over the field and had the big interception. And Kobe Durant, making a play for Rams Rookie of the Year, 2 interceptions, one of them 85-yard sprint to the end zone to break the 50-point barrier for our Rams. And those 2 guys on defense, Michael Hoyt and Laurel Murchison, getting it done in the pass rush and against the run. And are we taking Matt Gay for granted at this point? 2 50-yarders, guy should have been in the Pro Bowl. But it's really about 3 other things, 3 things I'm going to mention. Our offensive line finally stepped up. Shout out to those guys, game balls to every single one of them, and the defensive line as well. They're playing without Aaron Donald and Ashawn Robinson, guys like Jonah Williams and Laurel Murchison and Greg Gaines getting it done. But most of all, the game ball goes to Cam Akers, going up against one of the better defenses in the league. This is a Cam Akers I haven't seen since before his Achilles injury, to be honest with you. He was playing with passion as well, on a mission. Lots of guys stepped up today, but Cam Akers is at the top of the heap as far as I'm concerned. Coach's corner, the only criticism I have is that Pooch punt kickoff after the personal foul on Randy Gregory. We had total control of that game. Don't even give him a chance to return it. Just kick it out of the back of the end zone. But that's pretty trivial compared to the good side of what the Rams coaching staff did this week in Sean McVay. This team was pumped up and ready to play, and these players are clearly responding to Sean McVay and his coaching staff as this season plays out. So kudos to McVay and the staff for that. We don't get CBS announcers very often. They typically cover the AFC away games, and that was the case with this game, so we were treated to Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. And I know a lot of people may be tiring of them, but I don't see them that often. I don't watch 6, 7, 8 games every weekend. I watch the Rams. So I enjoyed Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. It was kind of refreshing compared to some of the second-level Fox announcers we've been getting. And like I mentioned in the opening, really appreciated Romo's perspective on the Rams and where they go from here with Sean McVay and this roster. Romo seems to have the same line of thinking as I do. The Rams have some work to do, but they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2023. All we got left is our loop around the league. That's coming up in a second. Hey, make sure you go to our YouTube channel. We had a nice little video on what the Rams should do regarding their offensive line in the NFL draft next year. And what I have to say about that might be surprising, but I think I'm right. So go check that out. Our YouTube handle is at LA Rams Up, and make sure you subscribe and give those videos a like. Really appreciate it. Let's get through our Week 16 loop around the league. We're going to focus more on the important games, the ones that still matter, less so on some of the other games. And at the end here, we'll tell you what it all means going into Week 17. On Thursday night, the Jags beat the Jets 19-3. That probably is going to put an end to the Jets' chances at a playoff berth. The Jags, meanwhile, with the ensuing loss by the Titans on Saturday, are in first place in the AFC South. Trevor Lawrence having another nice game, 20 for 31 for 229 yards. The Jets benched Zach Wilson in the third quarter. Not sure where the Jets go from here with the quarterback situation. It doesn't look like it's working out with Wilson. On Saturday, the Panthers 37, the Lions 23. Hey, if you want to know what's going to happen with the Lions on any weekend of football, just see who I picked in their game, and it's going to go the other way. Wasn't on Jared Goff, 355 yards and 3 TDs, but the defense didn't do their part. That's been their problem all year long, really. Get this, Carolina rushed for 320 yards, Deontay Foreman for 165, Chuba Hubbard for 125, and get this, Panthers win out. They win that division, and we'll talk about that at the end here. The Saints beat the Browns 17-10. In the Arctic cold, you would think the Browns would have the advantage, a team that usually plays in the Dome, but not so in this game. Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill had rushing TDs. In the Cardiac Kids, the Vikings beat the Giants 27-24. Greg Joseph, a 61-yard field goal as time ran out. TJ Hawkinson trade finally paying dividends for the Vikings. 13 catches, 109 yards, 2 TDs. The Vikings blocked a punt, and that led to a Justin Jefferson TD with about 3 minutes left, but the Giants answered Saquon Barkley, a 27-yard run, and a 2-point conversion to tie it up. And then the Vikings got in field goal range for Joseph, thanks largely to a 3rd and 11 bubble screen to Jefferson that picked up 17 yards. Moments later, the Joseph 61-yarder. Man, if you're a Viking fan, and I've talked to a couple, it's been a heck of a ride this year. Just another stressful game. I remember those days as a Rams fan. Hasn't been the case this year. The Bengals 22, the Patriots 18. Jamar Chase fumbled to give the Pats late life, but 1st and goal at the Bengals 5, Ramondre Stevenson fumbles and the Bengals recover. Stevenson is the one that had that first lateral at the end of the Raider game, that disastrous play that cost them a chance to go into overtime and probably ended their playoff chances. This one, probably the nail in the coffin. The Bengals win their 7th straight. The Texans 19, the Titans 14. The Titans have dominated the Texans over the years, but Texans rallied for a win here. While the Bengals have won 7 straight, the Titans lose their 5th straight. And like I said, Jags in first place ahead of the Titans right now. This is only the 2nd win on the year for the Texans. They got to be careful. Don't want to blow that first pick to the Bears. That's still a possibility. 49ers 37, Commanders 20. Purdy Kittle twice for 34-yard touchdowns. Washington turned the ball over on downs twice and also had a fumble and an interception. Pittsburgh 13, Raiders 10. The last thing the Raiders want to do is lead at halftime, and they did it again, and sure enough, they lost again. Crazy game. Cowboys 40, Eagles 34. No Jalen Hurts, but Gardner Minshew steps in. 24 for 40 for 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 TDs. One of them was actually a really nice pass. Defender just made a great play on it. Dak Prescott, 27 for 35 for 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a TD. So that's right, he threw 8 incompletions on the day while throwing for 347 yards. Pretty impressive. The Eagles led 34-27 midway through the fourth. Their last 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, an interception, a fumble, and then on downs deep in Dallas territory as they tried to tie it up. Some games that might have been more of a foregone conclusion. Chiefs 24, Seahawks 10. Seahawks, man, they started out great. I knew they'd win more than that 5.5, as I've said many times. I didn't really think they were a playoff team, though, and that's turning out to be the case. Bills 35, Bears 13. The Bears actually led 10-6 at halftime, and the Ravens 17 and the Falcons 9. Ravens clinching a playoff spot, and the Falcons eliminated from playoff contention. On Christmas Day, the morning game, Green Bay 26, Miami 20. Tua threw 3 interceptions in the fourth quarter. The Miami loss is good news for a handful of AFC teams chasing that final wildcard spot, and Green Bay keeps their hopes alive for an NFC wildcard spot. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. Visit our website at ramsup.com, and don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.
Music courtesy of the YouTube audio library. Tracks featuring Bar Crawl by Track Tribe, Buckeye Bonzai by Vans in Japan, and Crimson Fly by Huma.